All right, we're ready to start our last section of Module 1, Lesson 3, our last video for this one. So how are integer addition and subtraction related? So let's think back to what we did on the last page. Anytime we saw a double negative, we made it positive, and then we followed the same rules for both addition and subtraction. So first, make all double positives or double negatives positive. And then both follow the same rules. And so make all double negatives positive, then both addition and subtraction follow the same rules. So same, add, different, subtract. The more you write it, the easier it will be for you to remember it. They say if you write something 7 times, you'll have it memorized. So same, add, different, subtract. Keep the sign of the larger. So how are they related? After you make all double negatives positive, they have the exact same rules. Same, add, different, subtract. Always keep the sign of the larger. So as we go down here, and we kind of answered this question here, up here. I didn't realize it was down here too, so sorry, I shoved it all up there when it should have just been here. Okay, so here's our addition. Same signs, add, keep the sign of the larger, plus. Same signs, add, keep the sign of the larger, negative. Different signs, subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2, keep the sign of the larger, plus. Different signs, subtract. 5 minus 3 is 2, keep the sign of the larger, negative. And then before we start any of the subtraction, we go through and change any double negatives, then we can go down the list exactly like we did. So double negative, positive. Double negative, positive. So no more double negatives here. This one doesn't have any, this one doesn't. So I'm going to rewrite this as negative 5 plus 3, and I'm going to rewrite this as 5 plus 3. And then after we did step 1, now they're the exact same set of rules. Different signs, a positive 5, a negative 3, subtract, keep the sign of the larger, plus. Negative 5 plus 3, different signs, subtract, keep the sign of the larger, negative. So 5 minus 3 is 2, so your answer would be negative 2. Same signs, add, keep the sign. And same signs, add, keep the sign. Because we have a negative 5 and a negative 3, the signs are the same, so we add and keep the sign. Exact same rules, both sides, after we change all double negatives to positive. And of course, rewrite it so you have a clear picture of the problem, so you can easily see these are different, these have the same signs. Because if you try to do it at this step, students get confused. So I always recommend, that's my biggest recommendation, matter of fact, besides changing double negatives first, is always to rewrite the problem. So those are the patterns we found up there. So that part's already done. One of your things on your, I don't know if it's on your quiz, but it's on your test, is they ask you to write each integer subtraction problem as addition. Remember how I said we can add the opposite? So we add the opposite. So when you type this into Alex for your quiz and test, you would write 5 plus -3. So you just have to remember to change 2 signs. Should always have 2 signs changed. So we made the subtraction, addition, and the 3 had no sign, so we made it negative. Double negative, positive, we changed 2 signs, right? Both negatives became a big plus, so this is -5 plus 3. Double negative, ding, 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 change 2 signs, we just did. So now this is 5 plus 3. Add the opposite. So now this is -5 plus -3. So all the same ones from above, we just turned them all into addition. And that's what teachers tell you to do, like when you're first learning sign numbers, is make everyone into an addition problem. And when you're first learning it, that's a great way to do it. But eventually I get to the point where I go, I'm not going to add the opposite. I'm just going to say this is a negative and this is a negative. The signs are the same. So add and keep the sign. Because wouldn't have you got the same thing if you would have had added the opposite? You would have said, oh, the signs are the same, add and keep the sign. So you just save yourself from doing that step by realizing this is a negative and this makes the 3 a negative. So these are the exact same problem right here, exactly the same. All I did was add the opposite, but then we can see when we do that, that makes the 3 negative. So a -5, -3, -8. Okay, we already did that. Well, let's just write add the opposite. You have to change 2 signs. The middle sign, change it to plus, and then the sign of the other. And you can look all the way down here and see that. Add the opposite, add the opposite, because when we make that big plus, we're making the subtraction plus and the negative plus. So it's still add the opposite, add the opposite, we change 2 signs, add the opposite, we change 2 signs. So add the opposite, change the 2 middle signs. Okie dokie. So next we're going to do some work with the number line. So subtract using number lines and the comparison model. Plot the numbers in the subtraction problem on the same number line. Draw directed arrows. So again, I don't do it exactly like they do it. I want it to be consistent with what we learned before. So to me, when I do this one, this means up 5, back 8, because it's a positive 5 and it's a negative 8. It makes it much simpler that way. Up 5, back 8. Because do you really want to learn something new on this one? And then try to remember which one goes with which? Oh, is this one for subtraction or is it for addition? No. Let's just learn one method that works for both. So we're going to do this just like we did the last one. So this means from 0, go to positive 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Whoops, I got to do an arrow here. And from positive 5, go back 8, because negative 8 means back 8. So 5, 6, 7, 8 means we land right here at -3. And I can tell that my problem is correct by using the rules. +5, -8. The signs are different, so I subtract. 8 minus 5 is 3, and I keep the sign of the larger. The larger number is 8, and it has a negative sign in front. So I don't do all the stuff that they do there. Okay. So the distance between, we don't have to do that since we're not doing that method. For some reason, I keep going out of focus there. And there's our answer. So 5 minus 8 equals -3, just like we wrote up here. Okay, so next we're going to do +3. There's no sign here, so that means go from 0 up to +3. And then from our stopping point, we go back 6. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 leads me right here, which is -3. So let's do it with the rules. One's positive, one's negative, so we subtract. 6 minus 3 is 3. Keep the sign of the larger. 6 is larger, and it has a negative sign in front. And we're not doing that step, remember? So this one, the final answer would be 3 minus 6 equals -3. And remember, if you're ever doubting yourself with addition or subtraction, best thing to do is check it with money. If I have $3 in my checking account and I go out and spend 6, what's my new checking account balance? -3. So there's such an easy way to check them. If you forget your rules or don't know if you're doing your number line right or don't know if you did your chips right, apply money. It works every time. Saved me 1,000,000 times. Okay. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So how about we do 3 and then you can do the 2 on the back. So we'll do the 3 on this page. So the minute I look at this, my eyes go straight here and I go first things first. Double negative turns to positive. So this is really just -6 plus 5. No matter what, first thing you always do is make a double negative positive. And then we can start our number line. Back 6 and then up 5 from that point. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That ends at -1. And then before I type that into Alex for my answer, I do the rules and see if the rules agree. Signs different, one of each. Subtract. 6 minus 5 is 1. Keep the sign of the larger, negative. Boom. So I know without a doubt I have done it correctly. So -6, and when we go to write it, we have to write it just like the original. -6 minus -5 is -1. Okay. So we don't do any of the directed and do the signs. We just do everything the same. Then we only have one set of rules to remember. Okay, so next we have back 4 and then back 3 more. So start at 0, back 4 and then back 3 more. And see how, remember when we first were learning this, I said I get so I don't even have to draw my number lines, I can just visualize it. Back 4 and then back 3 more. Oh, I'm going to land at -7. So I can visualize the answer before I even find it because I'm like doing the number line in my head. So this means -4 minus 3 equals -7. When the signs are the same, they are both negative, we add 4 plus 3 is 7 and keep the sign. And if I have -4 in my account and I go out and spend 3 more, yep, I'm at -7. Okay, one more and then you guys get the next two on the next page. So double negative, ding, 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 ding. Immediately make that a plus, and then look at my easy schmeezy problem. You don't need chips, you don't need a number line, you don't need anything for that. 4 plus 3 is 7. But we'll do it anyway because they asked us to. Up 4 and then up 3 more. And remember what I said, don't ever use the original problem when you're doing the chips or doing the number line. You look at your new problem. That's why you always rewrite it after you make the double negative. So up 4, up 3 more, ends at 7. And then we write the original problem, 4 minus -3 is equal to 7. Beautiful, easy. Just follow your rules for addition after you take care of the double negatives. Okay, the two on the next page are yours. This is to verify that you understand and can do them on your own. So go ahead and do 5 and 6. Turn off your video and then come back and we will check to see how you did. Okay, my dog's snoring, so I'm going to shut my door for a minute. During COVID, I made 400 videos. I was like up all night for like 2 months making videos. And I didn't realize you could hear her in them. My students would go, what's that noise in the background? Oh, that would be my dog. She gets a little sad that I'm not paying attention to her, so she snores really loud. Okay, so let's see how you did. So we got a double negative going again. Make it a big positive. Rewrite. So this is really just -7 plus 5. Now we can do our chips or our number line or our banking, whatever it is we want to do. So this one wants us to do the number line, so we shall. So we go back 7, and then from that point we go up 5. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that lands us right at -2. And we can verify. Signs different. One's negative, one's positive, so subtract. 7 minus 5 is 2. Keep the sign of the larger. And so then down here they want us to write the original problem, so that would be -7 minus -5, and we found that answer to be -2. So you guys do okay on that one? Hope so. Okay, last but not least, and then we go to our practice page. Double negative, immediately make it positive. And we talked about these kind of problems in our last lesson 2. So this is a -4 and a +4. And we said in lesson 2, when you add opposites, you'll always get 0. So let's see if the number line verifies that. Back 4, and then from that position up 4, ding, 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 ding. It does verify. Anytime you add opposites, I'm adding a -4 to a +4, you get 0. So this would be -4, copying the original problem, minus -4, which really means +4, is 0. So that was a fun one. Okay, let's go to the last page. So this is just practicing. So what I tell students is pretend this is your test. Because your test starts out with, I want to say 5 problems, adding and subtracting sign numbers. I think it's 5. And your quiz will start out like that too, because your quiz for this chapter, I wrote it down, covers lessons 1 through lesson 3. So after this video, we'll be done with lesson 3. So once you get lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3 homework done in ALEKS, you can take your quiz. So I always tell students either take the quiz when it's time, after lesson 3, or just wait to the end and then take your quiz and then take your test, whatever works for you. But you will be ready to take your quiz after you finish this, okay? And your homework in ALEKS. So you got to make sure that you finish lesson 1, 2, and 3 in ALEKS, because I pulled the quiz and test questions from ALEKS. So if you haven't done your homework, then don't take your quiz yet. Okay. So what I would do when I was on the test, just like I told you yesterday, is first thing, write the rules. Same, add, do your data dump, so you can have it written on your paper before you start your test. After you start your test, then you take your blank sheet of paper, write your rules. Same, add, different, subtract. Always keep the sign of the larger. Keep sign of larger. So when you're doing those first 5 problems on your quiz and test, boom, all you have to do to look up there to verify the rules. So that's called a data dump, and that is a very, very strong testing aid. They say it's one of the best things you can do, particularly in high memorization subjects like anatomy and physiology, math, which has so many rules, biology. So things that take a lot of memorizing, data dumps are great at the beginning of the test. And we do in ALEKS, you do an environment check. So the first thing you're going to do is hold your paper up to the camera and show me that it's blank. But then once you start your test, boom, write that stuff up there. Okay, so -20, +17, the signs are different. So I'm going to subtract. 20 minus 17 is 3. Keep the sign of the larger. And what I would do for you guys, since this is our review and the end of this, I would right now shut off the camera and do this whole page by yourself. And then come back and check it with me, because this would be great practice to see if you're where you should be. Okay, so that's my suggestion. Okay, here the signs are the same, 2 negatives. So when they're the same, we add. So 15 and 13 is 28. And we keep the sign of the larger negative. They're both the same sign, but. And this, remember, when there's no sign in front, that means it's positive. So a positive and a negative, they're different, so that tells me to subtract. So 43 minus 35, 13, 4, make it a 3, 0, and 8. And then we always keep the sign of the largest, and this one, so many students miss it on the test. The larger number is negative. And if you're battling yourself on the sign, do money. Money will fix it every time. If you have $35 in your account and you go out and spend 43, guess what? You're in the hole, $8. So anytime you're wrestling with yourself on the sign, think money. Okay, next we have double negative, boom. So that turns into a positive. And this new problem is now 59 plus 40, which is just a simple little addition problem. And the numbers are larger on the test, so this is good that we have some larger ones and we can practice our addition and subtraction. And then keep the sign of the larger number, plus. So 59 plus 40 is 99. Here, the signs are the same. This is negative 15 and negative 30. When the signs are the same, we add and keep the sign. So 15 plus 30 is 45, and we keep the sign of the larger, negative. So always do that last, because what students do is they add 15 and 30 here, they write 45, and then they forget to check the sign. Always keep the sign of the larger on the last step. So first you decide whether you're going to add or subtract, then do your adding and subtracting, and then make sure you check your sign. Positive and a negative, that tells me to subtract. And here's another thing I've seen students do. They put 129 minus 145. No, when you subtract, you have to have the larger number on top. So negative 145 and 129. So you cannot put 129 on top and subtract. 145 is the larger absolute value number. I know to keep the sign of the larger, so I can go over here. I already know my sign's going to be negative because 145 is larger. And then I can just do regular everyday subtraction. So 15, borrow from the 4 to make that 3. 15 minus 9 is 6. 3 minus 2 is 1. I got my sign there. I figured it out ahead of time. So no problem. And you can do that on all of them. If you see on Alex that you consistently miss the signs, do the sign first. Keep the sign of the larger. 120's larger, negative. Keep the sign of the larger. 25's larger, positive. Keep the sign of the larger. Largest number's 47, it's positive. And here we have to do the double negative first before you know what the sign of the larger is. Remember, don't do any sign, anything until you change your double negative. So now keep the sign of the larger. This one's going to be plus. So if you're someone that misses a lot of signs, do it first on every problem. Then decide whether you're going to add or subtract. Signs same, so we add 120, 52, 2, 7, and we already have our sign there because we kept the sign of the larger. Signs different, when they're different we subtract. So 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, that would be 7. Sometimes it's easier just to count on your fingers when it's not too far. Keep the sign of the larger, plus. Next one, the signs are the same. When the signs are the same, we add. 12, 7, 82. Keep the sign of the larger, plus. And last but not least, after we make the double negative positive, we see the signs are different. So this is a subtraction problem. So 30 minus 22, make that a 10. Borrow from the 3, make that a 2. 10 minus 2 is 8. And keep the sign of the larger, which after we did a double negative into a positive, we see the larger number is plus. That's why you can't do it on that step. If you do it on that step, you'll go, oh, the largest number is negative. But it's not a negative. 2 negatives make a positive. So the larger number is positive. So keep the sign of the larger means keep the plus. So hopefully you did well on that. Like I said, that's kind of your gauge, how hard you're going to have to work in Alex. If you got most of those correct, you're probably doing good. So then you do Alex to cement it in your head and keep it there. Because students think, oh, I did a couple in class and I got them all right. But if you don't practice it, you won't remember it. it doesn't stay in your head. It just stays for that day or whenever. But then when it comes time for the test, I'll have students go, I totally spaced out. I couldn't remember the rules. And usually it's one of two things. Either one, they waited till the night before the test and did all of their homework. And so when you learn that much in one night, it's not going to stay in your head. Or they didn't do their homework at all. That's why we do it in little bits and pieces. Now you're done with lesson 3. So you should go to Alex and make sure you finish lesson 1, lesson 2, and lesson 3. And then if you want to take your quiz, go for it. If you want to keep working through the next 3 sections, then take your quiz and test, you can do that as well. Okay? Okay, have a good night. See ya.